Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us. We're just 13 days until the 2024 election. I mean, it feels like yesterday President Trump was teasing us that he may or may not run, going on Fox News, telling us, you're going to be happy with my decision, but not telling us if he was going to run or not. It also feels like yesterday that Joe Biden and Donald Trump were on the debate stage, and then just moments later, days later, weeks later, Kamala Harris came in and stole the damn thing from him. And it seems Joe Biden still has a little bit of resentment from Kamala Harris. I often say this on this show. It's unclear to me if Joe Biden hates Donald Trump more or Kamala Harris. And in the recent weeks, it's starting to seem like he's really not a big fan of Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is having a very tough time in this last 2 weeks, closing into the election with the battleground states and resonating across Americans across all of America. It's she doesn't appeal to anybody. She's very arrogant and she's not genuine. President Trump was in Pennsylvania over the weekend working at McDonald's. Kamala Harris says that's one of her former employers. McDonald's releasing a statement we're going to get into in the show today that says they're not sure entirely sure that she even worked there in the first place. I want to bring in our guest today. He's a guest that's been requested from all of you guys multiple times. We've gotten multiple emails and tweets to me that you want Mark back on the show. He's none other than Mr. New York, Mark Simone. He's the host of the Mark Simone Show here in New York City, but nationally syndicated on 710 WOR, the Mark Simone Show, 10 to 12 weekdays. He's also got a podcast, so you can listen to Mark 24 hours a day, as you could with this show. Mark, thanks so much for joining us today. I want to begin with first President Trump at McDonald's over the weekend. I mean, we've seen him do some crazy things over the course of the last, since 2016. Did we ever think we were going to see Donald Trump behind the fryer of a McDonald's in Pennsylvania?
Well, something nobody's pointed out. Donald Trump owns probably 100 restaurants. He's been in the restaurant business for decades. Trump Tower right over there has 2 restaurants in it. Every hotel has 4 restaurants in it. This guy has purchased more kitchen equipment than anybody who's ever run for office. And I know he's always in the kitchens. He's always... Even in the White House, the kitchen staff said he'd always come in, check on everybody, and he'd make sure in every one of his restaurants, you have everything you need, and you got the equipment you need. Is everything working well? So he's familiar with this stuff. He is also, I would guess, the single biggest customer of McDonald's in America because he eats there 3 or 4 days a week. But when he's leaving, he gets meals for like the 50 people on the plane and pays for the whole thing. I bet they could check the McDonald's records. Yeah. He probably is their single biggest customer. So it's more than a gimmick. He really knows what he's doing in a restaurant.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure if we were supposed to say. I mean, it's like the greatest kept secret that President Trump's favorite restaurant is McDonald's, let alone fast food. This was handed to me by one of my producers, and it was a message from McDonald's corporate sent out to the McDonald's franchisees. I just want to read a quick excerpt from it. Earlier today, President Trump visited McDonald's restaurant in Pennsylvania following a request made to our local franchisee. As we've seen, our brand has been a fixture of conversation this election cycle. While we've not sought this, it's a testament to how much McDonald's resonates with so many Americans. I think we could all agree on that. McDonald's does not endorse candidates for elected office, and that remains true in this next race for president. We are not red or blue. We are golden. Now, I want everyone to listen to this next part. Though we are not a political brand, we've been proud to hear former President Trump's love for McDonald's and Vice President Harris' fond memories working under the arches. While we and our franchisees do not have the records for positions dating back to the early 80s, what makes a 1 and 8 so powerful is the shared experience so many Americans have had. So I don't know, Mark, maybe you're better at disseminating this for me. Is that a jab at Kamala Harris that she's never worked there?
They're not. I'm sure they have the records, but
well, it's like one of those FBI things we can neither confirm nor deny, but we know it's true, right?
Yeah, McDonald's has the best communications department in the world. Yep. Now, any other corporation would have put out some little woke nonsense, but yep. as they say, go woke, go broke. So McDonald's is just perfect. They're not tone deaf, and they kind of let you know Kamala didn't work there. Basically they're saying there is no record of such a thing, but they're not slapping her in the face with it either.
It's good you bring that up because I was at a wedding maybe a year ago, and I met a guy who owned 2 McDonald's, and I've never met anybody who owned a McDonald's, so I was intrigued by this guy. So I followed him around the whole night, just asking him questions, to the point where he opened up his phone, he pulled out the POS system on his phone, and showed me that he can see every time the cash register is even opened, Mark,
Yeah.
No cash, no money, just if the thing is even open. So to your point, I think that's actually excellent because Kamala has told us a lot of lies, and we're going to get into them in a little bit. But this is about President Trump and how he resonates with the American people and how he can relate to the American people. Now, President Trump, he'd said to one of the ladies working there that he'd love to come back there and work again. But I don't think he's going to be welcome back. Take a listen to, for everyone watching on video, take a watch, and for everyone audio, take a listen to President Trump bagging up some fries.
Tell you what, it's a great franchise. It's a great company, and they've been very, very nice. And come on, if you look at really what's happening, look at the crowd over there. Look how happy everybody is. They're happy because they want hope. They need hope. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're going to give much more than hope.
What does working the fryer tell you about the people of Pennsylvania?
Make it fact.
Mr. President, you actually have worked at McDonald's now versus...
Now I have worked at McDonald's. I've now worked for 15 minutes more than Kamala.
Are you going to put this on your
I
resume?
never worked here.
Why would she lie about something like that?
Will be put on your resume.
I worked at McDonald's.
Why would she lie about that?
Why? Because she's lying, Kamala. That's why.
I mean, the guy's just brilliant. I've been to a lot of McDonald's, as most people could probably tell, Mark. I've never seen one of the attendees open up the window and address anybody like that. So I don't know. Apparently there was thousands of people there. The thing, Mark, that's most telling to me is I see all over Twitter these people saying, well, it was staged. Donald Trump knew the customers who were coming through. Well, no shit, Mark. I mean, the guy was nearly assassinated 2 times. Did they just think that they were going to allow people to drive through unscreened, whatever the hell they want, pull up to the window, and God forbid one of them pull out a gun on them?
Yeah, no, everybody. I was at a dinner with them the other night. You have to empty your pockets. They warned you. I'm sure they did that to everybody that was going by that window. The media is now so corrupt. If this were legitimate media, they would ask Kamala, what's the exact McDonald's you worked at? They would have been there finding somebody that remembered her back then. How many weeks is it now? Nobody has come forward to say, I remember working with her. So I think we know she lied. And Trump is right. He has more McDonald's experience than she has.
It's, you look, the standard for Republicans and Democrats is so different. I saw over the weekend, Tim Sheehy's running for Senate in Montana. It said something like he was shot at while he was overseas in war, and they're jumping all over him, attacking him as if it never happened. Yet you've got Tim Walz, who's the definition of stolen valor, Mark. It just runs across the board. These people who are just fraudsters. Congressman Andy Ogles last year or 2 years ago had said he had a college degree in a different subject than he actually had it in. To be honest with you, Mark, I've been out of college 10 years, and I really forgot, I think, what my minor was. I mean, the things that they worry about are just so inconsequential. But when you have these people doing stolen valor and stolen identities, in Kamala's case, it's completely quiet. What they don't talk about, what was staged, Mark, was, I don't know if you remember, but during COVID, when they set up that whole little fake thing inside the White House, where they had the windows with fake lights going through it, and Joe Biden got his jab there, and he was doing press conferences there, and he had his tiny little desk there. What they're also not talking about is there's a page on Twitter that goes to all Kamala rallies, and they pull metadata from people's phone to see if they were at prior rallies, where they were before. Mark, like 75% of these people were at prior rallies or in tight communication with Kamala's team. I mean, why is the media not talking about this stuff?
They're totally corrupt. This is the first campaign that needed a ground game just to get people to the rallies. This is, first of all, remember the convention they kept calling Coach Waltz, the coach, Coach Waltz. Turns out he never coached a football team. He was an assistant, just a little volunteer. And there was a guy, I think his name was Stewart, was the coach. He's the one that took them to the playoffs. The media never mentions this stuff. Even the carried weapons in war, boy, they buried that pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane to me that the media is so complacent and complicit, in this deceit of these candidates, and how the Republicans let them get away with it. Because, it was like the whole thing when they came out and said Kamala, they were questioning her race. I mean, why is that? If a Republican did that, it would be the end of the world, Mark. If a Republican came out and said he was Black, Hispanic, or Asian, and he was just a white guy, they would go crazy. The truth of the matter is what it is. It's Kamala Harris's parents are Indian and Jamaican. I mean, why is that so bad to talk about?
Well, all these things, over the weekend, we was talking about Arnold Palmer's physical quality.
Yeah. I missed that one, thank God.
questioning. I've heard a lot of people, even in the black community, talk about Kamala's race, and
Right.
seems to shift. What people have to realize, there's one explanation for all of this. Donald Trump is not a politician. He never was. He never will be. He's a real guy, and he talks like real people talk. And when people say he's got to stay on message, where's his discipline? He's got to be. No, he does. He's not going to ever do any of this. He's not a politician. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Obama, they all say the same exact stuff, but they do it in private. And when they're out in public, they put on this fake formality. And that's one thing about Trump. He's the real deal. He's exactly the same off camera, on camera, not a politician.
You know, the funny thing is everyone's called Donald Trump. I mean, everyone on the left, obviously not everybody, but has called Donald Trump a racist. I mean, since 2015, he's a racist. He's a xenophobe. He hates women. But Mark, if you look at his track record, he's hired, I think, probably more Hispanics and women and blacks among the cross of his brand than probably any private company in this country. The only people we've heard racist things from were Joe Biden back in his days when he was Jim Crow Joe. I mean, saying all these racist things about blacks and the kids. I mean, he's the only one we heard of it. And yet it's Donald Trump who's the racist because he wants a secure border. I mean, it makes zero sense. Mark, we're going to take a quick break here. I want to continue on the other side of this break, 13 days till the election. Fox News is telling us they expect a 4-day delay for election results. Sounds awfully familiar to 2020. We're taking a quick break. We're talking to Mr. New York himself, Mark Simone. We're coming right back. Folks, are you tired of supporting big box stores and multi-billion-dollar corporations that don't support us? Corporations that donate tens of millions of dollars a year to push woke Marxist Dem ideologies? Whether it be Amazon and Jeff Bezos or Target with their transgender clothing for kids, or even Bud Light going totally woke, enough is enough. Why should we as lovers of this country continue to support these corporations? The answer is we shouldn't. I constantly get people who reach out to me and ask, John, what can we do to save this country? Where can we shop and support American-made brands and conservative ideologies? Well, we now have a solution to stop shopping at these woke companies and stop funding the deep state, and a solution to buy American. This is something we can all do right now to kick the deep state in the teeth and stop funding our enemies and vote with our dollars. We have a parallel economy for around 450 household products. Not only can you cancel woke brands like Procter & Gamble and Johnson & Johnson, you can also cancel the stores that carry them. I need you all to head over to switchwithjohn.com, that's switchwithjohn.com, where you can read all about our movement. We have access to a conservative manufacturer that will replace these brands and the stores you buy them from. It isn't an additional budget item because instead of turning right into Target or left into Walmart, you're going to shop directly online, directly with the manufacturer. Folks, this is a patriot movement that is happening right now before our eyes. Every 47 seconds, a shopper is switching to our online store, and we need you to partner with us. Join us and band together. I just canceled my Amazon Prime subscription because I've truly had enough. So what do you say? It's time to put your money where your heart is? Join us today and help save this nation. Go to switchwithjohn.com. That's switchwithjohn.com to learn how you can join thousands of other patriots and help take this nation back. switchwithjohn.com. We'll see you there. We're back. We're talking with Mr. New York, Mark Simone. And for all of you who don't listen to Mark's show, we highly recommend it to you. If you're in New York, you can tune to 710 WOR, iHeartRadio.com. If you're not in New York, weekdays 10 to 12. You can also catch him on his podcast 24 hours a day, as you can this show. Mark, Fox News' Arnon Miskin, who runs the decision desk there, is telling us that it might be a 4-day delay till we find out the election results for the 2020 election. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, this seems awfully like 2020.
Yeah, the guy who's really studied this the most is John Fund, the great writer.
Right.
He told me the other day, at least 4 days. He's thinking maybe a week. When you watch American Idol, it's like 700 million votes they haven't counted
Right.
in 30 seconds. No other country in the world has this problem. So that's where the cheating takes place, by the way. I saw that many, many states where it looks like he's won. 2 days later, everything changes. That's where all the funny business happens. The famous Jimmy Carter study that the mail-in ballots, and it's where all the fraud is. But apparently, Trump is very good about filing all these claims early. That was the problem last time. You have to file these claims before the election.
Yeah. I think he's got a better team now from who I've interacted with and spoke with than he had in 2020. people who have more ideologies like him who support and back him. I think in 2020, there were a lot of people there who were just looking to make a quick buck, Mark. And by a quick buck, I mean millions. Some of these people were making just exorbitant amounts of money that they didn't deserve to be making. And they were corrupt as hell, and they didn't fight for his ideologies or support his ideology. So I think by the grace of God, hopefully, he's got a better team around him now. I want to look at some swing states and what the heck is going on, because President Trump is going to be in New York City on Sunday at Madison Square Garden. And as I was telling you in the break, I'm going to be going with Lou's wife, Debbie, great person. Love spending time with her. Great family. And we're going to go see President Trump in New York. Now, President Trump is not a man to waste money, Mark, and these rallies cost money. Why is President Trump coming to New York City?
I think he's got a chance of winning New York, and I've been saying that all along. Ronald Reagan won New York twice. I know it's different nowadays, but you never know. I think he's got a shot at it. Remember, one of the reasons they do these rallies, it's not just ego and having fun. They're collecting all the data from each person, and that's where the ground game is. They'll make sure every one of them gets out to vote. And you got to remember, he's lost the Jewish vote. That's very important in New York. With her not showing up at the Al Smith dinner, she's lost the Catholic vote. She's lost the Jewish vote, the Catholic vote. Crime is bad all over New York, and we've been hit really hard with this migrant crisis. So under the radar, undetected by the polls, I think there's a lot of people that will cross over. That's how Reagan won New York. Just they called it Reagan Democrats. I think that's going to happen with Trump.
And I think we're going to have a better idea. Over the weekend, I got a call from me, out of all people. I don't know why they were calling me, but from Siena, New York Times. And I got picked to do one of their polls. And they were polling New York, specifically New York City. I think Kamala's in a lot of trouble here, Mark. And I think anytime I need to know what's going on, I call my father, who listens to your show every day. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to. I'll listen to your podcast when I have time. But I called my father. I said, "What's Mark saying today?" And that's one of the things my father said. And my father actually has a bet with my sister that Donald Trump pulls New York City, and he's a cheap SOB. So for him to be making a bet, he's believing in you, Mark. So you better be right.
I'm not saying he'll win New York City, but
no, but New York as a whole.
New York City is only half the votes in New York State. He's going to easily win New York State, and if you get 15-25% of New York, you got it, and it's that simple. Also. I was talking to the great Ed Rollins, the great political.
I love Ed.
He's run so many campaigns, and he and others have told me landslides always develop in the final 10 days. They don't come early. The landslide develops towards the end. So if it's going to happen, that's when it'll happen.
Mark, I don't know. I'm not a pollster, but I talk to a lot of them. The thing that I don't understand is how it's possible for her to win this election. Like you had said, she's lost the Catholics. Any Catholic or Christian who would vote for this woman who supports abortion, it needs to reevaluate themselves. The Jewish vote, any Jewish person who would vote for this woman needs to reevaluate themselves, because they do not support Israel. Okay, they don't support any fundamental rights of Israel. And if Kamala wins, you bet your ass there's going to be a two-state solution over there in Palestine and Israel. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Joe Biden would have done it already if it wasn't an election year. There's no doubt about that. I think we probably all agree on that. She's lost that. The black vote. People have realized that they're playing identity politics. For Barack Obama to go out there and say the brothers need to come over. Who the hell are you to be speaking to them like that? I mean, who the hell do you think you are? They've lost the Hispanic vote because the legal people here, the legal Hispanic people who have come here and fought to get residency and fought to get green cards, are tired of the illegal immigration. Mark, I don't see, unless you hear Elon Musk constantly say he speaks to these Fortune 500 CEOs who all support President Trump behind the scene. I don't see how there's that many stupid people in this city that we live in, Mark, that don't see the crime, the disgusting drug problem. I try not to even go into Manhattan anymore because it's so bad. Do you think there's that many stupid people who would make this mistake, Mark, when we have a chance to save this country, to save this city?
Well, I don't want to say anything about Democrats being stupid people, but there's a lot of Democrats out there. But I think the thing is, all those things you mentioned, a lot of groups moving over to Trump. And I think the other factor is even the Democrats, the liberals, the ones with the votes you can count on, I think she's going to have a turnout problem. They're just not thrilled with her. Low turnout is going to be a problem. Trump will get higher turnout than ever. And, in the end, it's always inflation. It's always crime, safety, inflation, the economy. And so I think, and as I say, landslides, if they're coming, they come at the very end. So we'll see in the next week what happens.
Mark, I just want to correct you on one thing. I didn't say Republican. I didn't say the Democrats were dumb. In fact, there's the Republicans who are voting for Kamala Harris are the idiots. It doesn't matter the walks of life. There'll be a lot of Republicans who vote for Kamala Harris, and there'll be a lot of Democrats. And to me, Mark, with what we've seen in the last 4 years, I mean, it boils down to every single thing we possibly do that they've affected our lives. I have a friend who's not political at all, Mark, and in fact, he probably erred on the side of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Barack Obama. And he constantly sat there and he told me when Trump was running in 2020, it doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't affect my life. And I said, that's not true. It's simply not true. And for what we've seen now over the last 4 years, it may be at the macro level, Mark, and people think that a president doesn't affect your everyday life, but we've seen it affect our everyday lives, whether it be the illegal immigrants that are storming our cities, the ones in Springfield, Ohio, who are allegedly eating the cats and the dogs and the ducks. Inflation running rampant, putting gas in your car. It's across the board, Mark, that we're just being bombarded. You and I are in New York City. I want to turn to Eric Adams, and I think he's a friend of yours. Is that right?
Yeah, I like the guy. I mean, he's a very charming, nice guy in real life. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't let him watch my wallet if I were in the speech.
I'm kind of torn on the whole thing. And one of the questions, as I said, I was called for this poll. One of the questions they had asked me was, do you think Mayor Eric Adams should resign or should he be removed from office? And, I'm kind of drawn on it because the same thing was done to President Trump. Now, I don't know if Mayor Adams did the things they said he did. I don't know. I do know that he spoke out against President Biden. I do know that he wears a lot of designer clothes and Ferragamo shoes, which is unconventional for a politician to do. But, I don't know. I'm not judge, jury, and verdict, and none of us are, Mark. The system has to play out. So we sat back and we watched happen to President Trump. So I think it would kind of be wrong for all of us to sit here and prejudge, is this man guilty or is he not? I think the system needs to play off. And, I think I've come to the conclusion, I don't think he should resign. Jumaane Williams is behind him. He's not a good person, highly questionable past. If they got Mayor Eric Adams, they're going to get Jumaane on something. He's had a career of questionable fundraising tactics and things like that. But, I'm sort of caught up on it. And I think I've come to the conclusion where I don't think he should resign because the process should play out. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, he's definitely not going to resign because he has to stay in office to keep fundraising for his defense fund. As long as you're in power, these donors will give you some money. So he has to stay in office. I think that all that travel stuff, the upgrades to first class, the upgrade to a suite in a hotel, that's done for any VIP for any politician. So he easily beats that. The straw donors, the disguising the donation, I don't know. That you start getting into that, it goes on with everybody. And if you're not sure this is lawfare, just remember the prosecutor here, this U.S. attorney, was Merrick Garland's law clerk. Merrick Garland was like his mentor, so they're very, very close.
Who's that, Damian Williams?
Damian Williams. I don't know if that's a coincidence, but that's awfully suspicious.
Yeah, Damian Williams, he's had a questionable past. I mean, I had someone on the show, her name was Bevelyn Williams, and she protested outside of a Planned Parenthood facility, blocked the front door, and last week she's headed to jail for 3 years. And they got her on, Damian Williams got her on blocking the access to an abortion at like midnight, Mark. Imagine that. I mean, it makes no sense. We're taking one more quick break here. I want to come back. We've got a report from the House congressional committees that security failures is what led to President Trump's assassination attempts. I'm not sure what else it would be, but we're talking with Mr. New York, Mark Simone. We're coming right back. Stay with us.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen-size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size, only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use My Pillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size My Pillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
We're back. We're talking with Mr. New York, Mark Simone. Mark hosts a radio show each and every day, weekday, 10 to 12, 710 WOR if you're in New York City. If you're not, you can just go to iHeartRadio. It's free, and you can listen to Mark. Must listen. As I said, my father listens to him every single day from 10 to 12 and doesn't miss a day. So if that's a testament, I think you guys should go listen. Mark, a House committee is out with the report that what led to President Trump's assassination attempt was just security failures. I mean, what else would it possibly be?
Well, he didn't have the detail he should have had. He didn't have the amount of agents he should have had. He didn't have experienced agents. So when you don't have that, you have to use the locals. And if you look in that report, apparently no guidance was given to the locals. I'm not an expert, but even I would have said check all the rooftops, especially that one 100 yards away. In the good old days of real Secret Service, you were supposed to scope out 1,000 yards. They didn't even go 150 yards. And have that rooftop exposed like that. And again, these are locals in a small town. It's like the Andy Griffith Show. They have no clue how to do this type of protection. And well, we saw the agents there. Some of them looking terrified. The little woman who couldn't get her gun.
Mark, you had some of the Secret Service agents on the stage who were ducking for their own life. And I say this all the time on the show. And it's not harsh or anything, but it's just the truth of the matter. When someone enrolls to go to the military, Mark, the oath they take is that they will die for this country. When a Secret Service agent signs up to go to duty, we'll call it, because that's what it is, they say that they will take a bullet for the president. I mean, I see these pictures after thing, and I see one of the women ducking, covering her head while President Trump's sitting up there like this, and you got the woman sitting there covering her, and I'm like, what the hell goes on in this damn country? But it was a pattern. I told Lou, we saw the president back in January or March, and I said this the other day on the show because I think it's important. I saw President Trump, like I said, probably somewhere in January or February, March, somewhere of this year. And we were at Mar-a-Lago, and Lou was doing an interview with him. And I went out to my car to get a book for the president of the Trump Century, a book that Lou wrote. And I walked out to my car. I walked right back in, walked right into the room with President Trump. Secret Service didn't ask any questions. I was already in there before. Now, I understand that I was with Lou, and Lou was a close friend of the president, but that should be no excuse. I shouldn't have been able to walk in the room after walking to my car to go into this room with this man. And I said to Lou at the time, I'm like, something's off here. That doesn't make sense. And I understand we're at Mar-a-Lago, but my car didn't get checked when I came in through the gates. I didn't get checked when I initially walked in. I didn't get checked when I walked in the last time. How do we let this happen? I want to turn to these two assassin attemptees. The first one, they cremated his body, Mark, almost like 2 days after it happened. What's up with that?
Yeah, and they couldn't open his phone. They couldn't get Roger Stone's phone. They got open in about 30 seconds. And if you go back to Lee Harvey Oswald, for weeks and weeks after, there was a press conference every 3 days with every detail of his life. Every inch of the media was doing stories on him, his whole background. The media, again, totally corrupt. There's no press conferences. They don't ask any questions. They haven't. Can you imagine this kid has not been profiled anywhere in any news organization, any website, any magazine, nothing about him. Don't look at his family. I don't know how you run a democracy without actual real media anymore, but we're doing it.
The thing that's so alarming to me, and I mean, just to President Trump's credit, the guy doesn't let anything bother him. He goes out there and he's like, pretty much it is what it is. I've never met a person who's got shot at twice, Mark, or shot at once 8 times and then almost another time, and just went out there and said, it is what it is. That's everyday life. It comes with the job. When he was at that McDonald's at the drive-thru and he said, I want to come back here and work here, I think he actually meant it, because it would have been a lot easier job than what he's going through. This second guy, it's 2 days after it happened, Mark, they came out, they told us everything about him. He lived in Hawaii. He traveled over to Ukraine to do humanitarian aid. He was trying to draft people from the Middle East to come to Ukraine. We learned all this stuff, and then boom, radio silence. We hear nothing else about him. what are we to think here, Mark? What kind of country are we living in?
Well, Lee Harvey Oswald, Sirhan, Mark David Chapman, David Hinckley. I can name every assassin. When they say one of the reasons they do this is to become famous forever. So if you take a shot at Trump, you'll be instantly anonymous. You'll get no coverage. Nobody will bother you. So maybe that'll help in a way. Maybe it'll stop future assassinations when they see you're going to get no coverage if you shoot at Trump.
I mean, it's you know what? These people, Mark, are so sick and demented. I would think back in the day of the Lee Harvey Oswald, it was to get some sort of, publications and stuff. But these people, it's like they're mentally deranged people with such hate and anger in their blood. And they constantly say the Republicans are the bad ones. These people, they cause insurrections. They're terrible people. Well, it's these Democrats who are trying to take off Donald Trump's head. I mean, nobody's thinking about it. I want to wrap up here, Mark, with some things. 13 days to go. Swing state polling is all in President Trump's favor. You'd said it multiple times on the show that landslides happen in the final weeks. President Trump announced he's a 3-point lead in Pennsylvania. McCormick is statistically tied with Casey in the Senate race. What is your thoughts on? Everyone says Pennsylvania is the way to win it. I have went back and forth with pollsters that I think he can win Virginia. I think he can win New Hampshire at Holy. With those two, he doesn't need any of the swing states. I think there's so many different ways that he can win it. What's your thoughts right now as we're 13 days out, how President Trump wins this thing?
Well, I don't know how she wins it. I mean, or I don't know what she can do at this point to turn things around. But Trump is a golfer, and he's a golfer who wins club championships. And he'll explain to you, to win club champions, you have to come alive on the 17th and 18th hole. Those are your best holes. You got to finish strong. He always criticized Romney for falling apart. So as good as Trump's been, I think the next 2 weeks, I'm sure he's got stuff up his sleeve and things he's going to pull out. He will finish very, very strong, especially the final week. I think you'll be amazed at the things he comes up with.
Yeah, and you know what the good thing about President Trump is? There could be no October surprise for him because everything already is out there, Mark. They tried to get him with the Access Hollywood tapes in 2016. In 2020, it was the impeachments. The list goes on what they did to this man. There's literally nothing you can say or do about Donald Trump to hit anyone with an October surprise because we know everything. I mean, his tax returns. We've gotten everything about this man, Mark. We know what he wears to sleep at night. I mean, it's insane. So I don't think there's anything to his credit. He's an open book. He's a New Yorker, and you and I can relate to it. Our lives as New Yorkers are a lot more transparent than someone who lives out in the Midwest and isn't as big on social media or whatever. Not that President Trump isn't big on social media, but you get the point. I want to wrap up with here Taylor Swift endorsing that single cat lady. Well, actually, she has a boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't know what you call it, Travis Kelce, but Taylor Swift endorses Kamala Harris as a single cat lady. She signs off her Instagram post. And we've seen now so much hate against Taylor Swift. Never in my life, Mark, did I think Donald Trump, and this is according to polling, is more popular than Kamala Harris. Over the weekend, she was in Florida, and there was somebody flying a banner over her arena. Trump 2024, ready for it, cat lady, MAGA. I mean, did you ever imagine Taylor Swift, who's probably the most popular person on this planet, most expensive concert ticket, is less popular than Donald J. Trump?
Well, this is what big famous Democratic entertainers do. Taylor Swift, if I wanted to know what guitar pick to use, I would ask her. I would consult her on that. If I want to know what kind of microphone, I would ask her. Who to vote for president, I really wouldn't want her opinion on anything. But go back in history, the crazy superstar left-wing singers are the ones that back McGovern, Mondale. Right. It's tradition. They always do that.
Oh, we need a Mondale-type election this time around. Mark, I want to wrap up a last question here. You were at the Al Smith dinner with President Trump. A lot of Democrats there. President Trump sat next to Chuck Schumer. You could see Chuck Schumer was crawling to get out of his skin. And he was surrounded by mostly Democrats. Jim Gaffigan, massive Democrat, hated President Trump. You can go watch some of his videos. Seemed in favor of President Trump. Kathy Hochul. And I don't understand why President Trump's so nice to these people, but it's a whole different story. We can talk about that a different time. But what was the reception you saw from both the Democrats? From what I hear, Kathy Hochul ran over to President Trump to say hello. Eric Adams. The only one who was not allowed near him was Bill de Blasio, Big Bird.
Well, I know this for a fact. In these big, big events, Chuck Schumer calls ahead. And a number of times he said, if Donald Trump's there, I'm not coming. And the other times where he had to be there, I know this for a fact, he's called ahead, his people call ahead, make sure he's seated nowhere next to Trump. Well, he was in the closest seat to Trump. I guarantee you okayed that. He obviously has seen internal polls. He's trying to make peace. I was watching during the dinner. Hochul, who's all the way on the other side of the dais, came running over to say hello to Trump. These guys know something. And
what's wrong with Mini Mike? He looked sickly. There was something wrong with Bloomberg.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's wrong with him? Was he suffering Trump derangement syndrome? Is he sick? He did not look well.
I'm not a doctor, but he did not look too healthy to me. And his skin color was
right.
He looked like he was wearing makeup to give himself some color. So I don't know what's wrong with him.
Very odd. You had mentioned Schumer. A quick story. I was on a plane ride with Schumer and his from Paris, France. Schumer was sitting in first class somehow. I don't know how he afforded the tickets. It were like $30,000 for 3 of his family members. Anyway, Chuck Schumer, maybe he called Eric Adams. I don't know. Sitting next to him and his wife and his daughter, Chuck Schumer is the only person I've ever seen get up on a plane, Mark, with no shoes on, no socks on, and walk to the bathroom and go in the bathroom. This is a true story. I witnessed it with my own eyes. Absolutely disgusting. Mark, you get the last word here. Your words for President Trump as he wraps up this final 13 days and seeks to make America great again.
I think you're going to be amazed at I guarantee he's got stuff he'll pull out of his sleeve the last week or two. And Kamala Harris, her new generation, she's 60 years old. She literally qualifies for the senior citizen discount at any movie theater. That's not a new generation. That's absolutely ridiculous. So I think you're going to see, I think you'll all be very happy if they ever actually count the votes and get that finished.
And you've heard it from Mark Simone that President Trump has a chance of winning New York State. That'll be a big one. Mark Simone, the host of the Mark Simone Show, 10 to 12 each and every day in New York City, 710 WOR. You catch him on iHeartRadio or his podcast 24 hours a day, wherever you live, whatever country you're in, the Congo, Hawaii, New York, wherever you are. Mark Simone, thanks so much. Mr. New York himself.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks to Mark Simone, and thank you all for being with us today. And as I said earlier on in my monologue, a lot of people reached out to me that they wanted Mark back on the show, and we've tried, and Mark's just busy. Our schedules didn't align, but I'm glad we got Mark back on the show. And there's anybody you want to see on this show or you want us to bring back on this show or want on here as a weekly guest, shoot us an email, info@loudobbs.com. You could also shoot me a tweet at John Fawcett NY or a Truth Social message at John Fawcett. We want your input. We want to hear what you want to hear on this show. Guest ideas, topic ideas, anything. Shoot us an email, shoot us a tweet. Thank you all for being with us today. We're going to see you right back here tomorrow. May God bless you. May God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs.